Q&A Part 4, the final Q&A. Starting off with Scott Terry. Scott, you were late to the party, but I will allow it. Scott writes, "Gah, I didn't realize Andy was doing another Q&A. Wish I could have gotten in on it." I'm letting you in on it, Scott. Been wanting to ask Andy about Brendan Fraser. It's funny how it's like you're saying, you're not directing it to me. It's like you're talking to somebody else, but you just happen to be responding to my video while you're talking to someone else. I've been wanting to ask Andy about Brendan Fraser, the third person. He dropped out of Hollywood altogether, and now all of a sudden he's popping up everywhere. Could this be an example of one of those situations Andy was talking about a few weeks ago, where a possible occult ceremony/sacrifice occurred on Brendan's behalf? Well, who knows? Like that was always just speculate. When I talked about that, that was all speculation. But who knows? It's Hollywood after all. I mean, if you don't think Hollywood is deep and dark and evil, then you're not paying attention. Brendan Fraser is an interesting character, interesting case. Here's his history as I understand it. Now, I remember when he was like hot shit, like in the late 90s, particularly. With The Mummy, although The Mummy was kind of like a second-rate Indiana Jones, but he was, he was very entertaining. He was like, this is before they call people Chad, but he was very Chad. He was like a very hunky, handsome, sexy star. Not my type, but he was a good-looking guy, male model sort of looks. And then at some point, I think sometime in the aughts, he had some situation where he got groped by some Hollywood bigwig, some studio guy, grabbed his junk at some public event or something. And it was so traumatizing to Brendan, and like this guy, was like held it over his head and sort of abused his power. And I think Brendan Fraser, from what I'm told, again, this is just what I've heard, he was so traumatized by this that it sort of drove him out of the business. Now, there was some movie he was in the late aughts, I think it was, or maybe it was even a little later than that, with Brooke Shields. It was some kids movie where he was playing a dad, and he had already and he'd put on some weight, so he was a little pudgy at that time. Wasn't at all looking like the hunky, muscly matinee idol type that he was, the studly guy that he was in the late 90s and the early aughts. But then after that, and appearing in maybe like a couple things, he mostly just disappeared. And now you're right, he's back. He's in some new movie that I haven't seen yet called The Whale, I think it is. This new movie by the what's his name? I can't remember his name. The director of The Wrestler, and of Black Swan and Pie and Requiem for a Dream. Just shout it at the screen and I'll hear you. So he's in this movie that's getting a lot of acclaim, and he was in Batgirl, the one that Warner Brothers did. They filmed the whole thing, and then they decided we're not going to release this. So it's incredible. That I don't know. I don't understand how that decision makes any financial sense. They said that they wouldn't, that it would cost a lot to promote it, and yeah, it would cost a lot. But why not just release it without any promotion, and try to recoup something? off of it. Instead of just filming the whole thing, finishing filming, and then not not even releasing it. It's just wild. It sounds like it was a pretty crappy movie. No, another one of these woke feminist retellings of superhero lore. So no great loss that it was not released, but it's just kind of mysterious. And it's also too bad for Brendan Fraser, because he apparently played a villain in it, and he had a pretty meaty role. So I don't know, what happened, why Brendan Fraser is back now. He seems not totally well. He seems like a really nice guy, but he seems like somebody who's still kind of a little bit, mentally iffy. But it's strange that getting groped by some industry bigwig would just destroy a guy. You wonder if there's more to that story than what you've heard. I mean, I could see how it could make you really mad and just make you want to punch the guy in the throat, and then just quit Hollywood forever and say "fuck you, you bunch of perverts." But to him, it did, it didn't have that. It wasn't just like that. It was like this was such a demeaning, humiliating, traumatic kind of experience that it just destroyed him. It just took him out. All right. And now we're going to go to the questions on my second channel, YouTube is my whore, no wiki, which I invite you all to subscribe to if you haven't already subscribed to it. Because who knows what YouTube will do. And my backup channel is, at the moment, it doesn't have any strikes. Bonto Max asks, when is the next pandemic? When was the last pandemic? I mean, the last real one. That's my answer to you there. Bonto Max also says, they are always 5 moves ahead. They've modeled crowd behavior. Resistance is futile, isn't it? I think Bonto Max knows my hatred of red pilling, and he's just trying to get my goat. He's just sort of trying to trigger me there. I see what you're doing. Alan Hero Archive asks, is your daughter single? I'm just going to say no. She's not. And leave it at that. Dr. Hildegard Landstrom asks, what gets you in the right creative mood to write? What gets you in the right, R-I-G-H-T, creative mood to write, R-I-W-R-I-T-E? Well, inspiration is a funny thing. You can't really control it. But you can create the conditions that can maybe hopefully bring it about. I like to be in public when I write, whether I'm in a restaurant or in the mall, of course, or, which I've been able to return to that mall again. You'll be happy to know. Served my time after getting into an unfortunate conflict with the mall cops. So being in public, listening to music, just sort of feeling loose, relaxed, and just not forcing things, just letting it happen. I guess that's the best I can say, but inspiration strikes, when you least expect it, and you can't make it happen. It just comes on you. It's like a rapist. It's like a rapist. It just takes you when it wants to take you, and when it takes you, you can't do anything about it. I'm cracking myself up here. Sorry. I just thought of the most insane, provocative, offensive way to put it, and so when it takes you, you just might as well enjoy it. Just sit back and enjoy it. God. Zoella's bleeding vagina shows up again to ask, how many YouTube users have you blocked? Maybe like 10 or 15. I only block people if they're just being totally mean and disrespectful. And if they're just, if it's clear that they're just being a dick, that's all they want to do. Is just the only reason why they're commenting on my video is to be a dick. And because they don't like me. I've got some haters out there. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And so yeah, those are the only conditions where I block people. And when I do block someone, I don't make a big deal about it. I don't talk about it. I don't make it. They want you to make it into this drama. They want to be what causes drama to you. But who are they? They're just some anonymous figure out there, some rando out there who means nothing to me, who I don't even know, and who doesn't even really know me. So I just if somebody is just not being respectful, I just block them and move on. Zoella asks, will you be tuning in? I like how she's both asking questions here on my backup channel, and she asks questions on my main channel too. Will you be tuning into Millennial 2022? Probably. I'll probably tune in. He's on Odyssey now, right? Millennial Woes. Whether I'll tune in or not probably depends on whether I find who he has on as a guest to be interesting or not. And yeah, so we'll see. Of course, I was on the Millennial once, but that was I don't think that's likely to happen again. And finally, Bob from Soiree Games asks, Pinto or Gremlin? You always think that you're always talking about me driving a Pinto because I guess it's the most low status kind of car that there is. I drive neither a Pinto nor a Gremlin. I drive a Toyota Corolla. I've always driven either a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic. I don't think I've ever driven a car that hasn't been one of those three models. They're dependable. They're not flashy, but they get the job done. They get me from point A to point B, and that's really all I ask from a vehicle. All right. Well, that's the last question. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for giving me all your mind-bending, mind-altering, mind-evolving questions, and hopefully I've come through with the answers that you need, and thus concludes the Q&A, the holiday Q&A. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to y'all soon.